Hi everybody, welcome to my channel CELTA for you. And in this video, I'm going to highlight the important features of your CELTA TP form. That's your feedback form. Because recently I've seen in the group CELTA, many people have asked that how does this sheet look like? What are we supposed to do in that? So I've up in the next slide, I've shown all the questions being asked, and I've given tips as to what should be written under each heading. So for the introduction, I'm just going to tell you that your CELTA TP sheet is extremely important because it gives your complete feedback about your lesson from the beginning till the end, and it highlights all the aspects such as your planning, the staging, the timing, your instructions, your kind of interaction you had, did you achieve your aim or not. So basically, the tips that I'm going to give to all the people who are doing CELTA currently is that don't take it non-seriously, and don't just take it realistically. Give feedback based on reality. Don't overestimate yourself. Don't think that your TP was a top-notch TP and you did something out of this world. You just stay close to reality. You reflect on things as they did happen in your class, not as you wanted them to happen, or don't overestimate yourself. Just stay realistic because your tutors have already seen the execution of your lesson plan in the class. They noticed everything and they commented on everything in your lesson plan sheet. They did see whether your lesson coordinated with your execution of the plan in your class practically or not. So being unrealistic or be exaggerating things won't lead you anywhere. It's better to stay close to reality. And another thing is, honesty is always the best policy. Stay honest. Your tutors are really going to admire it if you are honest. If you are not, for instance, let's say you are not able to follow the stages of the lesson plan, and there you write that yes, I did follow it. It might offend them, or it might not be liked by them, or they might end up writing something negative in your TP sheet. So it's better you write what actually happened. So that's the best thing. And take it seriously. Take another thing is when you are have a TP next morning, you just I've already uploaded it. Maybe your TP reflection sheet is a bit different, evaluation sheet is a bit different, or somehow like this, somewhat like this. So what you can do is to end up giving our picture perfect plan and executing it also perfectly. You go through all these aspects and make sure these are the ingredients of your lesson plan. Every ingredient of this is practically present in your TP. If you do that while making your lesson plan, obviously it's going to lead to success. So keep all these things, all these tips in mind before when you're done planning your lesson. Just go through these aspects and make sure that all the things, all the aspects are already there. And in my next slide, all the tips that I've given topic wise, follow them. I'm sure it's really going to help you. And if you have any more questions, you can drop them in the comment box and I'm going to answer them for sure. So this is what a trainee self-evaluation sheet looks like. It begins with your name, date, and your TP number. And I'm going to highlight some important aspects which you keep, if you keep in mind, it's always going to be a recipe of success. So it begins with your comments about your planning, preparation, choice of activities, and materials. So basically, in this part, what you are supposed to do it, you have to reflect on have you been good enough regarding your planning. Did your lesson go as per your plan? Were you well prepared? And your choice of activities and materials, was it appropriate? Did it facilitate you in conducting your lesson and in achieving your aims or not? So this is what you have to write about. Next comes the staging of the lesson, and when you start your CELTA, you get lesson shapes, all the lesson plans stage wise. For instance, if you are doing speaking, your stages of lessons will be different. If you're doing a reading class, again the stages are going to be particularly designed according to your main aim, that's reading. If you're doing speaking, writing, listening, all the lesson plans are going to be different as per their stages. So Regarding this, what happens is usually people fail following their stages as per their plan. Recently, I checked in the group CELTA, a friend who's just started CELTA. She asked the question that she really planned well, but it didn't turn out so good as per the plan. This happens in the beginning because what happens, you plan a lot, you intend to do a lot, but you don't follow the stages logically because of many reasons. Sometimes your class does not respond as you expect them to do. So what you have to do to be meticulous regarding the stages of your lesson plan, keep some cards in front of you stage wise what you've planned as a clue, or I would suggest you always prepare a slideshow, your PowerPoint slideshow, which runs according to your stages of lesson plan, because it's there in front of your eyes, so there's no scope. You proceed according to, you see your slides and then you proceed, so there is no scope of failure as far as following the stages of your lesson plan is concerned. If you don't want to do that, then it's better you keep your lesson sheet, your lesson plan, a copy of your lesson plan with you, so that you don't end up being a loser. Next comes the timing, which is one of the most conspicuous factors, because you have to start on time, you have to end it on time. Suppose your lesson is for 40 minutes. The moment you reach your time limit, your tutor instructs you to end it. So if you are not able to cover up all the activities, then you don't get things on CELTA standard. It's always better to keep yourself ahead of time. Keep 5 minutes extra in your lesson plan, so that if your students take more time as well, you'll be able to finish it in time. So if you are supposed to conduct a class for 40 minutes, it's always better to plan for 35 minutes, because 5 minutes are going to be wasted here and there, giving the resources, changing the material. So it's always better to keep 5 minutes spare. Next comes monitoring. You really have to monitor your students after each activity is given to the class. If you're not monitoring, just sitting aside, that won't help you. You really have to monitor and see whether it's a pair activity. Are the students interacting? If it's a group activity, are they interacting as per your requirement, as per your desire or not? And see, I've written I over monitored, I guess, but the tutor was happy to see that maybe I overjudged myself, and she wrote it was better today. Next comes feedback. You have to give feedback after each activity. Indirectly, you have to hint at the error analysis, that error correction. If the students are not speaking something properly, you have to correct it indirectly, highlight their weak areas, so that your tutor knows that you're keeping a check of things while monitoring the errors made by them during the student-student interaction. So you clarify all those while error checking, while giving your feedback. Then comes your concept checking questions. Whenever you give them an activity, at the end of the activity, it's over. You have to ask them CCQs at the end of each stage. So if you don't ask, then how would you know whether your aim is achieved or not? Then comes drilling. You have to drill things, because the students at the elementary level really don't know a lot. So for instance, if you're doing vocabulary, it's always better to drill in class. The pronunciation must be drilled. And you know, I've seen it differs from tutor to tutor. Some tutors like pair work more, whereas the others like drilling more. So you can see what your tutor likes and you focus on that. Next comes your classroom interaction. You know, there should always be healthy student-teacher interaction, student-student interaction, and there should be less STT, that is less TTT, that is teacher talking time, and more STT, that is more student talking time. So you plan your classroom interaction in such a manner that you are there as a facilitator, but most of the interaction is between students. That is, your STT should be higher than your TTT. And there are some other resources, because I used ICT integration. I integrated all the things with my PowerPoint slideshow, and I used multimedia projector, the interactive board, and it was such a nice class because I had done all the activities by introducing different games. So it was fun for my students to achieve all the target. Then comes what do the students take away from your lesson. Basically, you have to achieve your aim. If it's a reading class, listening class, speaking class, did they really learn something? Did they really achieve it or not? And then it says, did you achieve your aim? My aim was to make them speak. So what I did was I left some information gap. Whenever you leave an information gap, your students have to hunt for the information. So they had to first express their ideas about their favorite movie, and finally they had to sort out one movie which was liked by all as the best movie. So leaving that information gap made them inquire more. They had to single out and decide on one thing which was liked by all. So I really achieved my aim because the aim was to make them speak, and they had to really decide by speaking. So it was achieved kind of. Are there any ways in which the lesson could be improved if you were teaching it again? So you have to reflect on what are the improvements that can be implemented in your plan. So maybe perhaps you can drill more next time. Error correction needs something. Whatever you think you must express. But I would also advise you to be extremely honest about your evaluation sheet. It's always going to be admired by your trainer. Don't exaggerate, don't overestimate yourself that you are the top notch teacher and mistakes cannot happen and you cannot do anything wrong. It's nothing like that. Honesty is always the best policy, it's always admired by your tutors. And another tip I'll give you to the people who are doing CELTA first time. Obviously we all do it the first time. I mean, initially, if you see when you plan your lesson, if you see your evaluation sheet already, you can look at these perspectives and see whether your lesson is achieving all these things or not. Is it does this fulfill the criteria of this evaluation sheet or not? Have you planned monitoring? In which way? Have you planned your timing? Have you planned your instructions? Are there concept checking questions? Is drilling there? Is classroom interaction there? In what sort? It's between student or between student and teacher. If you reflect on these aspects before executing your lesson and see that all these aspects are there implemented there in your lesson plan, of course it's going to be a recipe for success, not a recipe of disaster. So I wish all the people who are doing CELTA the very best of luck. I hope this video is going to help them a lot, and if you have any more questions you can drop them in the comment box. I'm going to answer them in the next video for sure. And it's time to say bye now. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.